Hey everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron. Today we're going to be doing something that we don't normally do, and that's working outside. So today we're going to be working on this 81 Chevy C30. The story that I got on this truck is that it was a dump truck, and they took the bed off of it and parked it 10 years ago. So today we're gonna see if we can get it to run, see if it's got any brakes, see if clutch is any good, stuff like that. So I'm gonna get the hood open here and we'll get to it. All right, we got under the hood here. Probably notice as I do this, I do a lot of the same stuff that the other guys that do revivals do. And if you haven't watched anybody else do any revival videos, you should check it out. They're pretty cool. So, first thing I'm going to do is take this air cleaner out of the way. This motor is nasty. I want to work on it, see if I can get it to run, and then if I can get it to run, I will go and pressure wash it really good. First thing I'm going to do is check out all the fluids. Oil's full, doesn't look too terribly bad. It's been sitting for a while, but at least it's got some oil in it to start it. Got coolant in the radiator, that's good. That carburetor just scares me. Everything moves. So, first thing I'm going to do is go get a bar and a socket. See if I can get this thing to spin over. If it'll spin over, then we'll take some carb cleaner and douse that carburetor real good. See if that helps any. So I'm gonna go grab some stuff and we'll get back to it. Alright, I got a bar. I'm gonna get on the crank bolt down here. And when I do this, I don't just want to make sure that it moves. I want to try to get one full rotation out of it at least, and make sure there's not any dead spots where it's hanging up. Helps if it's not in gear and you're not trying to move the whole truck. Note to self, if you're doing this, put a block behind the tire and make sure it's not in gear. Turns over a lot better now. Alright, I got at least one full revolution of the motor. This isn't in English, but it says premium carburetor cleaner. I'm going to take this, just hose down the top and around the carburetor. just to make sure we don't have any loose dirt or anything that's going to suck down in there. Alright, that looks good enough. Okay, so the motor turns over good. Next thing I want to do on these quadrajets, right here in the front, they have where the fuel line goes in, there's a housing with a filter right there. And a lot of times when they sit with any kind of gas in them, those filters swell up and they'll plug it off. So I'm going to go ahead and take that loose and take that filter out. And then we'll just leave it out for right now. It's a good chance if this thing fires up and runs decent, that carburetor's not going to stay on here anyways. So I'll go ahead and pull that out. And that sucker does not want to come off. To get you guys in here a little bit better where you can see more what I'm doing. This is the housing for the filter right here. The fuel line screws into it. Went and got a line wrench because the opening wrench was just trying to slip on this. So, see if I can get this to move at all. I think we got it. Yep, we did. Okay, so pull this fuel line off, get it out of the way. Get that out of the way. Now, this is already loose. Pull it off. That's the filter I was telling you about. You see it's real snug in that hole. That means it's already swelled up. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's normally just the size of these caps swelled out, and they swell up and they get gunk in there, and then they'll block off fuel flow going into the carburetor. So I'm going to file that in the G file. We'll go ahead and screw this back in without a filter. Obviously, if this thing runs good and we're going to go with it in here, then, well, like I said, this carburetor probably won't be on here, so we'll have an inline fuel filter anyways. Go ahead and hook our fuel line up, back up. Apparently we're in the path of the airplanes today. Just a little something extra for your listening pleasure. Alright, got that nice and tight. Clean the carburetor, we check the oil. Next thing I'm going to do, so I don't forget to do it, is disconnect the feed line off of the fuel pump, because we definitely don't want to try to run this with whatever gas might be in there. So I'm going to take that off, and I got a gas can full of gas over there. I'm going to just put a new line on it, run into that. I know there could be garbage in the fuel pump, but since we're not going to be using that carburetor later anyways, it's a good telltale for me if that fuel pump works or not. So I'm going to go ahead and use the mechanical pump on the motor and just run clean fuel through it. And so I'll get down and unhook that and run a new line into a fuel tank I got, and then see what happens. Alright, I got my fuel line hooked up, and I got it run to a fuel can down here. And while I was under there, I went ahead and hooked up a starter trigger. So the next thing I'm going to do, I got a new battery. I'm going to go ahead and stick the battery in here and go from there. Not quite sure what this conglomeration is. Got spacers and all kinds of crap in it, but we'll go with it for now. So go ahead and pull this out. Drop this one in its spot. Alright, got that done. Go ahead and grab our trigger and see if it turns over on the starter. And it does, pretty good. Next thing we're going to do is check spark. I'm going to try not to completely block you guys off while I do this, but I'm going to go ahead and pull the spark plug wire off. Stick a screwdriver down in the end of it. Then I'll hold it up here on the ground. I don't have any spark, but first thing you want to do when you're checking for spark is make sure the ignition's on, which I never check, so it's probably not. Okay, now the ignition's on, so I might get somewhere. You saw me jump a second ago when I first started doing this. Make sure your fingers aren't in the fan on the alternator when you do it. Now we got spark, and it's running. So I got my got my daily shock treatment on my pacemaker, and truck fired up. So that was a little easier than we wanted it to be, but it's a good thing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll go back and turn the key back on. We'll start it back up and let it run for a little bit, see what it does. So one thing you gotta love about these old Chevy small blocks, unless they got a rod hanging outside of them, they're hard to kill. So I turn the key back on. We go ahead and hit the button again. If it fires up, I'm just gonna let it sit there and run, see if it stays running. I don't want to do any hard revs or anything on it because it's been sitting for a long time. I want it to go ahead and build some heat on its own. So I'm gonna hit the button and we'll see if it starts again. That was too easy. Sounds like it's got a little bit of lifter noise. That could just be because it's been sitting so long. Running pretty smooth. I don't feel any misses. It's not puffing any smoke out, so those are all good things. Alright, she's got some heat in her now. The choke's open up almost all the way. I'm going to go ahead and rev it a couple times. Just some mild revs. See how it sounds, see what it does. Actually sounds pretty good. That carburetor, the accelerator pump's working, but it's stumbling on itself, and it's good enough for what we're doing right now. Smoking pretty good, but that could be because it's been sitting for a while. Smoke you see up here is just oil burn off the side of the block. Before I do anything else to it, a tune-up or anything like that, I'm going to take it and pressure wash it really good. Get it all as clean as I can. Then we can find out where some of the oil leaks are coming from and take care of them too while we're at it. So I guess it's running, it's built some heat. I'm going to go ahead and see if the clutch is working. So we'll go and step on the clutch and put it in gear and see if we can back up a little bit without driving through the building. Let's see what happens. It feels like there's some sort of clutch there. Springs back. Brakes pedal's working. It's got hydro boost, so got it in reverse. It tries to move. Guess we got a clutch, we got some sort of brakes. Key doesn't come out. I'll have to work on that later. Got some cool old matchbooks here from who knows when. Birmingham, Alabama. Nothing in the glove box. Not sure what this is. some sort of pocket knife or something. If you know what that is, put it down in the comments. Pins, bunch of junk, we'll have to clean all that out. Well, I got this old truck in the shop now. I took it over to my place and degreased and pressure washed the engine compartment and the engine. Cleaned up halfway decent compared to what it was. I don't know how well you can see this. Go grab a flashlight. After I degreased it and cleaned it up good, I found out where some of the oil leaks were coming from. And while we got it here, we're gonna go ahead and fix that stuff. So right here, at the front of the intake manifold, somebody's resealed the intake manifold before, and they put the rubber gaskets that go across the front and the back in, and those are notorious for pushing out and leaking, and that's where it's leaking from. I usually go ahead and use silicone on there. So since we're taking the intake off and this guy's going to be using this truck to do a lot of towing, I'm going to go ahead and put a better intake on it with a different carburetor. So I'm going to make another video on that, but we got it running. I drove it over to the house to pressure wash it and drove it back. It's been sitting for a long time, so the brake hoses are bad. The front brakes are locking up, so we'll go ahead and fix that too in the next video. But it runs and it drives, so as far as the revival goes, that part's done. And then I'm going to do a tune-up on it, change the oil, new cap, rotor plugs, wires, change the intake and carburetor like I said, and fix the brakes. We'll go through all that next time. So that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share, like, hit the bell, leave a comment, whatever you're doing. So I appreciate it. And y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next time.